Hello and welcome to another chat of Tea Time with Laura Lee. So let's start off with some tea. So in a lot of these chats, I talk about various things that affect whether or not you are able to live life on your terms. How free are you really in your life and in your mindset especially? Because that is the thing that dictates and determines so much of everything else. So today's topic is freedom of your schedule. Does your schedule run you, or do you decide your schedule? You know, a lot of people, myself included, find at one time or another that it's too easy to say yes and very difficult to say no. Before you know it, you've said yes to a million different things, and there's no time to even breathe during your day. You're running around ragged, taking care of everybody else. You fall into bed exhausted at the end of the day. And after a few months, years, decades of doing this, you don't even know who you are anymore. How free are you really? So, let's talk about taking back your time. Your time is your life. If you can't control the day-to-day things in your schedule, you're not controlling your life. There was a time back in the day, I always like to say that, back in the day, there was a period between the time I graduated from college till when I went back to school to become a massage therapist that I did a house cleaning service. And I had this client for a while that was going through a divorce. She had all kinds of stuff in her house. She was deciding whether or not, or they were deciding what to do with the house. Do they sell it? What do they do? So she asked me to come help her dejunk some of the cupboards and closets that she hadn't really used for a while. And so I agreed. And then after about, probably a couple of months, a month, I don't know. Then I realized, she's really putting a lot of emotional support, or looking to me for a lot of support and venting, as well as the physical work of cleaning out of her house. And I realized that I was saying yes and yes and yes to the point of taxing myself to where I was exhausted. I didn't have time for anything other than her stuff, taking on extra appointments with her. And at the time I thought, well, it's good for the money, good for business, And yet I had to stop and think, no, it's really not, because it's making me crazy. And it's filling up my time, and she's sharing all of this, venting all this emotional stuff. And I'm like, that's not really what I'm here for. So I had to step back, and I had to learn how to say no and take back control of my time so that I could free up my schedule to balance out my life and my sanity. So over the years, I've had to learn how to do that, sometimes to greater success than others. But overall, I'm very protective of my day, of my time, especially when I have blocks of free time or days of free time where I get to dictate how that day is going to be spent, because I know that's my life. And if I want to have freedom to live my life on my terms, I have to have the say as to how my day is structured and scheduled. And there's always fine-tuning on that to do. I'm still in process of really fine-tuning certain areas of how I begin and end my day. But overall, I've learned to be able to say, no, this doesn't work for me. No, I can't do that. I'm not available. So my question for you is, how well can you say no? Do you stretch yourself so thin that there's nothing left and your cup is drained to the point of exhaustion or even health problems? How far are you going to go in giving up your time and giving up your life and giving up control over how you experience things? You know, I think a lot of times we have a hard time saying no because we don't want to upset people. We want to make a good impression. We want them to like us. But you know, at the end of the day, if you say yes and yes and yes and yes at the expense of yourself, that's an energy and a mindset you're putting out, and people pick up on that. And they'll treat you like a doormat. And you won't be respected as much as if you just say, no, that doesn't work for me. Thank you. So I encourage you to look at your schedule. What's on your books? Are there things that you've said yes to when you know you shouldn't have? That by doing so, you know you're selling out on yourself and not taking care of yourself and your body, not giving yourself enough rest, enough mind space to maintain your mental stability, your sanity? What things do you really need to say no to? And train people, especially family members or those that you've allowed to run your schedule, train them to say, no, you can't do that to me anymore. You can't treat me with disrespect by expecting me to be at your beck and call all the time. Because I too have a life. I too have needs and desires and dreams and things that I need to fulfill. You can't do that if you're always running around on everyone else's expectations and whims. When are you going to own your dreams, your desires, your time, so that you can live your life, so that you can create your life the way you desire? Now, I know a lot of you would have kids. You do have kids, and so there does come a degree of responsibility and commitment. I get that. And within that, how can you teach your kids to say no? How can you teach your kids autonomy and self-care and responsibility that they are going to need in order to live as functional, healthy adults, rather than expecting you to pick up after them when they're 35 years old? Come on. How can you train them to be more autonomous, to give them freedom ultimately, and also to give you freedom of your days and your energy and your mind space? So I'd like to hear from you what your ideas and comments are about that, what your suggestions are of what you can do, and how you can improve them, and some of your challenges in being able to manage your time better. And if you'd like some additional ideas and tips for me, then please let me know, and I will be happy to share them with you. So thanks so much for listening and joining me with Tea Time, and I will talk to you again. Thanks.